We are back. We are back here for the KDL. We just wrapped up the lower bracket finals for the team matches, and so that means we do have Live Sandbox and Guangdong Freaks waiting for a rematch next weekend in the grand finals of preseason 2. However, we are still not done with finalizing the final 8 here for the solo matches. We're looking to do that today.
We have an insanely stacked set of players today. We'll talk about who they are in a moment, but this is the format, so the finals already has half of its players decided. They were the top 4 from the round of 16 winners match, but the round of 16 final match is yet to be played. People call this GSL style group. It's a group where you have these players battle against each other for advance, for drop, etc. You have a winners match, a losers match, and then a final match. We're in the final match, so finals right now, we have Ding, Spear, World, and Jimin.
Yep.
And the top 4 of this group, Hero, Luning, Cool, NEAL, Duzzi, SUNGBIN, HoJun, and JJONG.
It's so
insanely stacked group. Only 4 of these players are going to the finals, and 4 of these players are going home.
It's insane. Of course, in the losers match earlier, we did have Most Joker, Spell, and Hyunsu being knocked out as well. And even there, I mean, you know, that's just such a star-studded lineup, right? I mean, Hyunsu, Spell, and then Joker returning to pro play, Most in his rookie season here in his debut season, making it to the round of 16. All very impressive. But like you mentioned, in this final 8 to decide which 4 kind of eke out their chance into the final 8, that's insane.
Ding had such a fantastic group as well, where he was able to just crush it. He actually picked up several records as well. He still holds Rio de Nitro and Zigzag Timberland. So looking forward to seeing how he does in the grand finals, of course, especially after that loss earlier today. But let's introduce our final match players here from our start to finish from our seeds. We'll be starting off with Hero. Oh, check out Hero's hair.
Yeah, going for the yellow hair for the yellow stripes, am I right? Going for that first seed here in the final match, coming down from the winner's match. So the colors do portray their seeding. He was 5th place in the winner's match, so he will take that first seed here in the final match of the round of 16.
Yeah, and second here is Luning, one of the big underdogs, I'd say, and a player who in both preseasons has been pretty consistent but hasn't been able to take it to the next level just yet. He set a lot of the early track records and then was able to pick up some in season 2 here, preseason 2 rather, that is to say. So we'll see what he can do tonight. Is Cool, a big favorite as well, a player who has really just needs no introduction, to be honest.
I mean, the defending champion in solos for preseason as well, right? So just took that victory in the team match earlier to try to defend their team title in preseason, trying to look to do the same here in solos. And next up, another player who was in the final match in the final 2 against Cool in preseason 1, looking to return once again.
Back home again. Cool, 9 first place finishes, also a stat we saw earlier, which I didn't mention, but is actually crazy as #1 first place finishes of this season. As Duzzi here did end up getting first place in the losers match, as we mentioned, looked fantastic there. We'll see how he performs here tonight. He wants to go to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, he wants his shot, right? I mean, a lot of these other players, is that Duzzi making it to the final? That's amazing. That is an amazing fan sign. Next up with the green stripes, we do have SUNGBIN, another member of the Guangdong Freaks. We already have 2, Spear and World in the final 8. Guangdong Freaks trying to make sure all 4 of their racers are in the final 8.
Yeah, says he wants to have fun. I think winning is definitely one of the most fun things you could do. Is HoJun, the Emperor, he is one of the big contesters, right? And I think he has improved massively from preseason 1. Obviously, Kart Rider Drift, very similar to Kart Rider, but some of those skills do transition over, but there's a transition period. I think HoJun got through that transition period very quickly and is once again just one of the top racers here.
Yeah, I mean, his improvement has shown just why he's been called the Emperor before. And then here's another member who was called an Emperor in a different universe over by KRPL and Kart Rider Rush Plus League. He had so many victories, I believe 5 titles under his belt in that game. Now coming over to Kart Rider Drift, trying his hand in solos for the first time.
Yeah, looking to be one of the underdogs in this group based on seeding, but I would not be shocked if he does make it through. as we have just such a stacked group. I mean, if you told me this was the finals, I'd believe it. But
yeah.
Only 4 of these players are going. Only half.
All right, well, we kick things off on Mind Winding Slopes, a difficult one to start. Let's see who takes first place and gets their track choice here in the final round of 16 solos. And the race begins. Cool continuing to hold that record here. Of course, he made that in the round of 16 earlier. Let's see if he can reset it once again.
Duzzi here is starting things off pretty fantastic in terms of his lead that he has. And he's holding on to it here on Mind Winding Slopes as, NEAL trying to take an aggressive build. You know, you don't always see those from NEAL because he does take some really aggressive builds that are insane, and then he falls behind.
And Cool gets bumped away. He tries to recover, eventually hits the pillar, and that puts NEAL and Cool, the finalists of Preseason 1, all the way at the back here in the very first track.
No, it's the first track. I mean, there's still a lot left to be played, but this is a one-lapper here, so I think recovery just not on the cards for these two, not in a group this stacked, and one mistake like that is going to cost you a ton of points, as Luning has now regained control of first place and has actually built quite a big buffer between himself and Duzzi here.
Yeah, and HoJun actually taking a bit of an outside road there around the pipes, making sure he doesn't collide. He's been trying to play it safe in the caves, now looking to get up front, trying to enter a podium finish.
Luning here, see if he can maintain this spot as the gap is getting closer. Spin turn attempt is failed by Duzzi. He's going to drop back to 4th place here, but Luning, can he actually regain first?
Well, SUNGBIN does succeed in his own spin turn, and it's going to be Luning who barely edges him out off the jump. SUNGBIN bounces right across the finish line, and then it's Hero and NEAL actually recovering all the way up to 4th place.
Oh, man. Duzzi, he was looking so good. He was top 2. He ends up falling behind Cool, and will end up taking that 8th place spot. Luning, though, calm and collected, keeping his cool there in those final moments despite SUNGBIN's best efforts to rip him away. And he will end up winning here by about 0.3 seconds. And NEAL with a big recovery. I was going to mention earlier, you don't often see the NEAL error because it doesn't happen too often, but every now and then, you know, when you're the mad scientist, you're doing these crazy things that NEAL does, you do end up sometimes missing the mark. But he's also so good at recovering and coming back from those types of situations that even though he had a major error, he will still get top 4. You can't say the same about Cool, unfortunately, in this first one.
Yeah, Cool not able to stabilize enough. Meanwhile, HoJun was trying for that podium finish, gets caught around those hairpins, finished 6th as well. Well, it's going to be Luning taking us to another difficult track. We will be going to Forest Zigzag Timberland.
Off we go here on round 2. Luning taking the first track, choosing Zigzag Timberland here. We'll see how he performs on this second track. It is a first to 50. If you're joining us from teams and it's your first time in solos, it ends when the first player reaches 50, and that's when the cutoff line is drawn.
Yep, and only the top 4 will move on to the final 8. The bottom 4 finally getting eliminated from this star-studded lineup of the solo matches here in Preseason 2 of the KDL. Hero did shoot off into first place, and he's able to keep it for the majority here of the first lap.
Yeah, NEAL also making an aggressive play here now as well in top 3, as he will be able to keep it competitive here. I mean, he's not actually able to get any further momentum than what he had, as the defensive setup here is too good. I say that, though, and as Cool comes up here, we've just got a tightly dense pack of, very dense pack of top 5.
Yeah, they're all bunched up. Meanwhile, Luning, HoJun, and JJONG a little bit behind. So in their own battle of the bottom 3, Duzzi will bump the wall as he tries to cut the corner a little bit too close. SUNGBIN and NEAL just contesting, but NEAL's not going for any aggressive play just yet. We still have a full another lap to go. NEAL trying to reset his build to get across as he continues to build up that boost gauge.
SUNGBIN looking for that first place. He wasn't able to get in the first track, but Cool is going to capitalize on the chaos here. Luning as well, recovering in a big way, but the gap was so small. This is really still anyone's race to take here.
Yeah, Cool and NEAL, the 2 finalists from last preseason, still in contention for that podium spot. But let's just say it like it is. Everyone is quite bunched up as we get ready for the hairpins.
Yeah, I mean, any error here, and someone could shoot from 5th to 1st, as SUNGBIN is still trying to maintain that spot. NEAL, though, on the tighter turn here, the build right through the center. And now, see if he can take this inner. So far, the answer is yes. Not looking to block, just looking for speed here. So SUNGBIN's trying to find an angle. He's not able to get one.
Oh yeah, NEAL's really keeping him on his toes as well. SUNGBIN tries for the outer, and then NEAL just slowly drifts out, making sure he doesn't lose too much speed. Now SUNGBIN eventually will cross it. Duzzi actually pays the price of this giant collision as everyone groups up. He's going to be locked into 8th place. Meanwhile, SUNGBIN starting to shoot forward in first.
Okay, SUNGBIN here, only challenged by NEAL and Luning. Okay, cool, also up here, but bit of a bump, but I think he might still just have too much momentum here. He's got another boost coming online here in just a second. We'll use it right away, and those last 100 meters will be crossed by him. 100 to go, and he is able to finish strong. Excuse me, falling apart here. Oh, my words. I was going to say something about Duzzi as well, I mean, unfortunately, back-to-back here, small error there, not able to recover this time off of the collision. And in the first track, he looked so good for most of the track. He was up at the front. This one, middle of the pack, but back-to-back dropping 1 point here. He's going to have such a long ladder to climb here to recover in this final round of 16 match if he's going to advance, and just not what you expect to see from one of our top seeds.
Yeah, it's looking rough. I mean, already down to -2. You've got a long ways to go. Meanwhile, we will have SUNGBIN reclaiming that first place, able to select the next track, shooting forward in points, up to 17 total out of 50. Once again, the first race to 50 will end the match, and then we cut off at the top 4. Well, it's going to be SUNGBIN's pick for round 3. We go to Glacier Extreme Stadium. And we're off on SUNGBIN's pick of Glacier Extreme Stadium, and he will shoot forward with a decent start here. Actually reclaims first as we enter the first turns.
Glacier Extreme Stadium is such a fun track, especially the higher level of play you get to. Those hairpin turns really, I mean, I say it all the time, but it separates the great players from the best players, you know. These are some of our best players and some of the best players across Kart Riders history here, and how decisive you can be, how aggressive you can be, the risks you want to take on those hairpins can be the difference between first and frankly 8th, you know, depending on how it all goes. As Hero, our first seed here, will be the one who leads the charge here halfway through this first lap, as here come those hairpins.
Yeah, and HoJun, he's been very confident on this track actually throughout both Preseason 1 and 2, trying to reclaim a podium finish, trying to get back into contention, but it's looking a little tough as JJONG finally making a name for himself. He's been absent for the first couple tracks so far.
He really has. Luning going to move up into first place here again, as well, as we are just so neck and neck. I mean, normally solos are like this more than teams, obviously, with everyone out for themselves, but at the end of the day, with how crazily close this is to the high level we have here, I mean, it's just anyone's race to take. 1 to 6 here. I mean, Hero was in first, now he's in 6. He could be in first again just off of one collision, as JJONG trying to maintain his composure here, back in first place.
Oh, bumps the wall just a bit. He will have to maintain his speed, but it's getting a little tough to hold on to that first place, especially as we enter the hairpins. Now, will we see a couple different builds here just to try to overtake? Because if you just play it safe, you're going to let JJONG keep that first place. Luning's going to try to cut in first and then try to reset on the second hairpin. He will be able to overtake, and he tries to cut across, but he bumps the wall, giving way to SUNGBIN in first place. Only 400 meters left. JJONG, can he overtake into second? He actually gets bumped off. The track goes too aggressive. JJONG falls all the way to 8th as SUNGBIN crosses the finish line in first place.
Oh man, Luning did him dirty, because Luning, the third hairpin, the third part of that hairpin is the trickiest part, because it's the part where you actually have to make the jump. And he took it very aggressively there, but also in a way in which if he collided with anyone, he wouldn't fall into the pit. But he then hit the wall, so then took a very aggressive move to try to get on that ramp and actually just tossed JJONG down into the dumpster. And that is really unfortunate, because JJONG was actually, he needed this win so badly. He was up in top 3. This is the kind of win that doesn't get you fully back into things, but it starts to make you feel like, okay, maybe I can pension my style way, my way into a top 4. But finishing in last place here, going to take another point off the scoreboard for him, and really unlucky stuff, as Luning will still get top 3.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate for JJONG. He thought he'd be able to keep that boost to actually push into the track, but he actually gets bumped off. I mean, you could just see also, that just shows how desperate he was for that first, maybe first or second place finish. But now we are going to SUNGBIN's next pick. Once again, another difficult track. We go to Desert Construction Chaos.
or 4th track, Desert Construction Chaos. We have SUNGBIN and Luning being our most consistent finishers thus far, but NEAL very close behind.
Yeah, I mean, especially after that rough start on the very first track, he recovers by the end of Winding Slopes. And let's also mention another bump as we watch that happen. But let's mention, you called it out during Extreme Stadium, Wolf, but this lineup in the final round of 16, it's really got everything you would want in a Kart Rider Drift solo match, right? You've got great racers, you've got history in the likes of HoJun and then JJONG from a different game of Kart Rider. Of course, the recent champions in the likes of Cool, NEAL showing up in this generation. You've got rookies like Duzzi. It's got the full package.
Yeah, it really does. And I mean, with HoJun here in first place right now, it's just another showcasing that anything can happen. He's sitting on 4 points right now, but he's not going to let that get him down. He's got some momentum here. Oh, the recovery from him as well.
Yeah.
Caster's blessing right here.
Absolutely. Nice stop just to make sure he doesn't get bumped out and actually gets boosted forward off of that bump. He will have to regain that top speed. So SUNGBIN takes that advantage, that opportunity to shoot into first. And SUNGBIN currently at 27. He's already crossed the halfway mark up to 50 points. He's trying to finish the solo match as soon as possible.
Yeah, he and Cool actually leading in Nitro. Cool actually had some additional advantages over him in that Nitro regard, but did use an extra one to try to maintain that spot. So they are in a great spot right now here in those top two. HoJun trying to challenge as we get towards the end of the second lap here. Things can get crazy in that tighter section upcoming here, but Cool looking very comfortable at the moment before we go inside the construction itself.
Curious to see if HoJun or JJONG put on the pressure as we enter the 90-degree turns. Do they take that risk or do they just play it safe? Say, I'm happy with 3rd or 4th place just to get back into the standings. JJONG starting to try to creep his way in. He blocks out HoJun. Will he put the pressure onto Cool as well? Cool and SUNGBIN, what's their choice? They're just going to slow down completely. No pressure from behind from Hero or JJONG. JJONG looking to get at least 3rd place. He needs quite a few more points to catch up.
Yeah, I think 4th even isn't good enough for his standards here, but SUNGBIN looks like he's going to take another first here unless Cool can pass him at the last possible moment. And the answer is no. And Luning takes 6. JJONG will be top 4, but again, not good enough, I think, here for what he's looking for, especially if you consider how ahead SUNGBIN is now. I mean, he's moved us up to 37 now points. So, I mean, you're 2.5 essentially races away if he continues to get these points so cleanly from your chances of going to the finals slipping away, as JJONG has been such a fantastic player. He's been such a critical one for Rox in the team leagues as well. And for him to drop out of this one in bottom 3 would be pretty unexpected. I know he came in as a weaker seed, but for me, coming to this, I thought with the improvements he's made across this season, he was almost a shoo-in for me, but so far hasn't been the case. He's shown glimpses of that, right? He has shown us some flashes of brilliance, some of those moments where you could see the aggression coming through, but we need to see first place finishes from him now, because if you're hitting 4 every time, 4th is okay, but 4th is not okay when you're sitting down at 7 points.
Yeah, it's looking rough, and so many people were excited to watch him in solos after his ace match Rampage in Preseason 1. Well, currently all eyes on SUNGBIN as he leads with 37 points and takes us to World Tour New York Rally. The race is off, and if SUNGBIN gets first place once again, we are all but guaranteed to end in the next track, as he will only be 3 points away from 50.
Yeah, he has just been so consistent, so phenomenal. If that does happen, it is going to be rough for those players at the bottom. HoJun, JJONG, Duzzi, as Cool and NEAL are both tied at 15 at the moment, so keep an eye on that kind of mini matchup within the group itself to see which one of those players is going to pull ahead into that 4th place spot. As Luning challenging first place here with Hero and HoJun right now on this 1-lap track here. Historically has been a fantastic one for NEAL in both solos and team.
Yeah, and we'll see if HoJun also, if he can shoot up forward into first place, especially ahead of JJONG, he might be able to edge his way into first place. NEAL's going to avoid the collisions, goes all the way on the outer side on the left, still able to catch right back up as they enter the boost into the terminal, now going out to the park.
And Luning just knows how to pull away from these stressful packs. It feels like he's just always able to break away and come away the victor here. But Cool playing more aggressively now, challenging him in the 1v1, 1st and 2nd here.
Yeah, Cool now shooting out to first as well. You mentioned it, the mini battle between Cool and NEAL, and then eyes on HoJun and JJONG, but they're already so far behind that they're not even catching a glimpse of the potential 4th place mark. It's really the battle between Cool and NEAL to see who can shoot ahead. And Cool with a great block on Luning, maintaining that first place. We enter the final turns. We're going to that straightaway strip. Will the boost be enough? Cool's got double boost already. He's got another one, but Luning hits that top speed. He's getting the block, and NEAL, no, it's going to be Cool who still edges him out with that extra boost at the very end.
So close. NEAL was almost sitting there on the edge like, you guys can fight 1v1 all you want. I'll be the victor of your little battle. He almost takes first, but will move up to second. So Cool and NEAL both tied for 15 until this moment. Cool will pull ahead, but both of them actually getting a significant amount of points. Cool will take the 10, NEAL will take 7, and Luning in that 3rd place spot, of course, will take the 5. So continue to move up. And Cool will actually break Jimin's track record here just slightly by about 0.1 seconds here. So very impressive stuff here. We are starting to really get towards the end now. SUNGBIN can still end this on the next track if he takes a victory here.
Yes.
NEAL and Hero still battling it out for 4th right now, but even Luning's spot is not guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that a racer like NEAL might not make it to the final 8, but then you look at the rest of the lineup here, and we could say that about literally every single racer on stage. It's just how close it is, but SUNGBIN, of course, in quite safety. Even if he doesn't finish the race, he should be safely in the top 4, so he's breathing a sigh of relief as we look at the next pick. It's coming from KWANGDONGFREECS' Cool. We go to Village Boom Hill Tunnel.
Off we go here on Boom Hill Tunnel. A 1st place finish for SUNGBIN here would end this group. Now, on the other hand, this is going to be JJONG's track record, actually. He holds the current track record here, so one of his best tracks. Let's see if he can do it again here. A win here does not even necessarily make his chances of advancing that great, but if he does, and we see a weak performance from SUNGBIN, maybe there's still a chance, but a lot of other things have to go right. Not too hopeful for him here, but at least it's his best track.
Yeah, curious to see. I mean, Destiny's kind of out of his own control, but at least he can try to make another splash. HoJun looking at the same future right now as he's sitting in the middle of the pack. Duzzi does shoot forward. He's had a rough going, but he wants to go out with a splash as he's holding on to 1st place. And this is one of those tracks that if you get into the top spots, you can try to hold on to it. He does ping pong off, making a huge opening for Hero to shoot forward.
Yeah, it's really difficult to actually catch up because this track is so narrow, as no one can actually get that NEAL railing that he has popularized. Here he's top 4. SUNGBIN, also we have the picture-in-picture showcasing that he's been in 8th this entire time, so less likely that this is going to end here right now on Boom Hill Tunnel. Is Hero going to be able to maintain that 1st place spot? Both shortcuts going well, no corner collisions, and it looks like he's done it.
Yeah, he should be able to cross, but HoJun, can he? Oh, he tries to aggressively go into 2nd, but will be pushed out off of the corner. Gets bumped all the way down to 4th place, leading away from Cool, but JJONG will be able to edge him out in 3rd as well.
All right, we're going to have to get a final check here on points for after this one, because Hero grabbing 10 puts him up to 30, I believe. And now, you know, that middle of the pack gets a little bit more complex because it looked like he was going to be falling behind, but actually now picking up 10. He's actually pushed himself into potentially qualification here, as Duzzi as well picking up these points somewhat irrelevant. So Hero actually jumps up to 2nd place, and the difference between 4th and 5th now is 1 point. Luning and NEAL, 24 and 23, as Cool will jump up to 28. As, I mean, it doesn't get much closer than this. As SUNGBIN, even though he ends up losing a point here, still will end the group with a 1st place finish.
Man, I mean, that battle for 4th place, it's getting real close. Like you mentioned, 1 point difference between Luning and NEAL, and even then, Cool not entirely out of the clear just yet. If SUNGBIN can't finish the races here, only 10 points needed for SUNGBIN. Still just a 1st place finish would do it, but currently we're looking at Hero's next pick, and he's gonna take us to a mine track. It will be Rickety Rails. And the race is off. SUNGBIN just wanting to end the night here early in the round of 16 final match for the solos. but he's not quite at the top spots just yet as we kick off this track.
Man, and Luning's start there was pretty fantastic. He was able to cut to build some nitro while also blocking 4 people and then pulling into the first place. That was a fantastic start for him. Won't be able to maintain first place, but build a ton of extra nitro here as NEAL is the one who's now actually pretty far ahead in the pack here with Cool. 2 players competing directly with each other, but it's really about NEAL versus Luning more than anything else right now.
Yeah, NEAL just wants to shoot ahead, get that little bit of margin breathing room as we enter the second lap. A 3-lapper here on rickety rails, and of course, this jump as we're entering the next cave can get a little risky when you're all bunched up like this. But for now, everyone's stabilizing, avoiding too many aggressive collisions.
Cool trying to push in the first, actually takes that center line there, and we'll be able to avoid HoJun and SUNGBIN with no collisions there. He's still maintaining his opportunity here with that extra nitro to take first place. Moving to the final lap here, as it is neck and neck, but lines kind of have been drawn here as Luning is in the center of the pack. He's going to have to do something pretty unusual here if he's going to break into top 3.
Yeah, he's going to try to overtake NEAL. Now, NEAL will get pushed into the wall. Meanwhile, SUNGBIN, if he can just even get into the top 4, he's going to make things very locked in for the next track to be the last as he inches closer and closer to 50 points.
Oh, man, Luning with that aggressive attempt here actually is paying off. He and Cool in those top 2 spots. Luning took some really nice centers to actually avoid collisions, not the fastest, but the safest. And second place, he'll be happy with that. It is going to be NEAL who ends up going down to 8th and will lose a point. So Luning picking up a ton of momentum here. He'll jump up to 31. NEAL drops back to 22. And that's a 9-point difference between the two of them. Cool as well with the win here, jumps up to 38. And NEAL, this is a loss that might actually affect his ability to qualify for the finals. One of the finalists of last season. And you know, this is not the look you were looking for here, unfortunately. And he had such control for most of this track, but now he's at 22 to Hero's 31. Luning also tied at 31. The gap is wide. He really needs to not only probably take first place here, but also hope for some unlucky finishes for his rivals there. That's a loss you just cannot take in 8th place.
Yeah, this is looking pretty tight, because here's the thing. Now SUNGBIN, he's got a little bit more margin to work with, right? Even a 2nd place finish on this next track will put him at 50 points, exactly at the cutoff. So we'll find out as we go to Cool's next track choice in round 8 in his World Tour Rio de Janeiro.
The gates have opened for what is very likely our last track. If we see a top finish here for SUNGBIN, 1st or 2nd will do it. NEAL's hoping that is not going to be the case because he needs some serious points here, and he is starting things off with a bang on this downhill track. It's a 1-lapper, and he's got the lead.
Yeah, but even just first place might not be enough. He has to make sure that Hero and Luning are far behind as well, and Hero's not making that happen. Luning in the middle of the pack, but Hero following close behind in 2nd place. Eventually gets pushed back a little bit as JJONG finds an opening. I mean, if we do see SUNGBIN fall far behind once again, JJONG might even have an opening. He's trying to catch up, but never mind. That's the Caster Curse.
Oh, no.
In action.
Okay, well, NEAL at least in 1st place here. He's keeping the hope alive right now. And even if Hero takes 2nd, he gets an additional chance, right? Because it's only top 2 here. Well, assuming SUNGBIN doesn't get top 2. Because SUNGBIN gets top 2, then it's all over. But if he doesn't and NEAL takes his 1st place, his chances get pretty good. Assuming that Hero also isn't taking that 2nd place spot, as he is actually significantly ahead here as we're getting closer and closer to the end of this track. 500 meters to go. Let's see if he can maintain that first.
But SUNGBIN, he's looking for a draft timing, and if he can get, oh no, he's gonna get bounced off the wall. He goes a little too aggressively. NEAL cannot get the 1st place either. He's only 1 spot ahead of Luning. Meanwhile, it's going to be Duzzi with a redemption arc in that 1st place.
So now there are multiple players who can end this group, which has been the most competitive solo group I've seen since I started commentating Kartrider. As Duzzi will take 1st place here. He will have track selection, but he's not really in the conversation, unfortunately, in terms of points at the moment. But NEAL will find himself 2 points behind Cool after he's already significantly behind. So notice the gap here is going to be quite large between him and Cool. But Hero, only 4 points is actually what he needs to pass him with. So NEAL basically looking to go 2 to 3 positions ahead of Hero. The higher up he goes, the more points he's going to get. but this is very likely our last track.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we currently have SUNGBIN at 46, Cool at 45, right? So SUNGBIN, I mean, if he just gets into that top 5, he should be ready to go, or the top 4, rather. And then we're going to have Cool with the same idea, right? If he can get into top 3, he's going to be able to wrap up the race. So we'll find out. Of course, the KWANGDONGFREECS racers, they will do anything to make sure all 4 of them are in that final matchup. Well, right now it's Duzzi's track choice as we go to WKC Korea Circuit. And the race begins, and currently all eyes on NEAL. Can he return to another Final 8 solo match? Or, as the previous runner-up, will he be eliminated here in the round of 16?
That is the question on everyone's minds, and the question that NEAL will have to answer is, does he bounce it back super big in this group? But it is just, unfortunately for him, a little too late. And on the side of NEAL here versus Hero, you're up against Hero, you're up against Cool here, but Cool, 5 points to go, SUNGBIN, 4 points to go. I mean, it is very likely our last track, especially with how SUNGBIN and Hero both are racing right now.
Yeah, I mean, with the lineup right now of where SUNGBIN is, we are most likely looking at the finish. However, NEAL, he has to try to shoot forward and put Hero in the dust if he wants to overtake him. Currently 4 points apart. So NEAL, ideally you get first place and you push Hero down below second place to make sure you absolutely secure that top 4 seed.
Yeah, NEAL pushing into first right now, 2 spots ahead of Hero, would give an additional 5 points here over Hero, and with the positions would actually prevent us from ending this race, with Hero actually dropping back, but it is so close right now. JJONG does have the track record here, and he is in first place, as Cool has dropped down to 8th as well.
Yeah, Cool's not quite in contention to finish the race. SUNGBIN still could get a draft timing around one of these corners to try to finish the match right now, but NEAL, for now, he just has to focus on his own race, get first place. He cannot look back and think about where Hero is. He just has to control his own destiny for the time being.
Okay, he is battling with Duzzi here. Any collisions could prove disastrous here as Hero, if he passes NEAL here, I mean, it is almost done for NEAL. But actually, Duzzi being the buffer between NEAL and Hero is helping NEAL out a lot.
Absolutely.
Not only in points, but also in this track itself.
Yeah, and SUNGBIN shoots forward into the top 4 as well. This could actually help secure NEAL's victory, but NEAL needs to cross the finish line in first to absolutely secure it and not leave it up to fate. He's going to try to break away, just make it safely across in second place. Duzzi finishes in first, and SUNGBIN will finish in third, meaning that he crosses the 50-point mark. Now the question is, NEAL versus Hero. Second and 5th place. I believe we have a tie.
I think it's a tie. Yeah, it's a tie right at 32. Or is it? Wait, hold on. I may have done my math wrong on this one.
It should be 34.
34.
They're
that's right,
tied at 34.
Yeah. I think it's a tie.
Points.
Yeah, it's a tie. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the final standings to confirm and make sure I didn't do math wrong on stream. But Hero picks up 3, and yeah,
there it
NEAL
is.
picks up. So
actually
tie.
A 3-way tie. Luning as well.
I have never seen this before.
We were actually just assuming that Luning would still be able to shoot forward to a certain amount, but Luning finishes so far down below. It's a 3-way tie, and only 2 of those racers will be able to move on. Meanwhile, Duzzi, JJONG, and HoJun will be eliminated from these solo matches here in KDL Preseason 2.
Yeah, great run from them, but still a... you know, I feel like they weren't able to live up to it in this group tonight, you know, and the best racers will win. As I have never seen a 3-way tie, so my assumption is it will just be the 3rd player is eliminated.
Yeah.
And the first 2 spots will matter, of course, for seeding, so it does still matter whether you're going to get that 3rd seed or the 4th seed. But... NEAL, man, it's always the drama with this guy, isn't
yeah,
it?
he's just always in the center of attention. He just wants to be the protagonist, right? He wants that arc. He wants that drama to build the stories here for KDL. And hey, I mean, if I'm organizing the league, I'm thankful to NEAL, right? He's making things as interesting as possible. But the runner-up of Preseason 1 now in a 3-way tiebreaker potentially for elimination from the round of 16.
2 of the Aura players who weren't able to make it to postseason, but had a fantastic set of speed runs this season. I mean, it's a pretty hype tiebreaker we've got on our hands.
And we are going right back to where it started here today for the solo round of 16. We go to Mine Winding Slopes. 3 racers start the track, one lap to decide who will be eliminated here in the solo matches.
Hero with an awkward start here is going to try to get some additional nitro with these cuts, but it's not going to be the efficient start he was looking for here. Will have that extra nitro here for just a second. Won't be able to catch up with it though because he lost way too much off of that start. You can see that he used an extra nitro and is now in nitro behind Luning and NEAL. And this is going to be a battle for third and fourth, the first and second places. But for Hero, he needs to make himself part of the equation here, part of the conversation, because he's out. He is not going to the finals if he cannot actually maintain one of these top 2 spots. He's got a chance now.
Yeah, he's in draft range finally, and we do have quite a few more turns coming up, so he should be able to close the gap just a bit, but he's really only going to get 1 or 2 chances at this rate.
Yeah, he really is running out of steam here, taking some very aggressive inners because there's no risk of collision with the other players. Avoids all those posts here, as that could be your doom. An aggressive match like this here on winding slopes is just not quite able to keep himself, though, in the conversation, and he's not able to maintain really strong draft range. Does get one up here, looks for the spin turn here.
But he loses to his speed and still bumps the wall, and here's the thing, now you're completely out of draft range, and unless a mistake happens from the first 2 players, it looks like Hero will be eliminated. NEAL actually going to overtake Luning on the jump, using the boost in the air as well. And NEAL will be moving on in that 3rd seed here from the final match. That does put him over on eventual 7th seed in the final 8. It will be Luning in the 8th seed, and unfortunately, Hero, who entered the final match with the yellow stripes in 1st seed, will be eliminated from the solo matches.
Yeah, such a close one there, but it was a rough start from Hero. Just really couldn't get the start he was looking for, then tried to cut for extra nitro. NEAL and Luning sitting next to each other throughout that as well, just with the stage positioning there. And NEAL, you know, he gives him a handshake as well because they will be entering the finals together. But it is absolutely one of those moments where you look at NEAL and his dominant finish there, and you're like, it's like he's looking at the camera saying, I knew I was going all along. There was never any question. There was never any doubt.
I mean, that's the thing about this guy, right? You can hardly count him out in any scenario, and you can just see from the scoreboard, Hero not able to get a single draft. He just had such a rough start, never quite in range to catch up, and NEAL will be moving on. But yeah, again, I mean, this is why he has so many fans, both in Korea and, of course, globally as well. He's representing, of course, kind of the global audience single-handedly here in the KDL in Korea. Will finish in 3rd place here in the round of 16 final match. And so we have our final 4 joining the final 8 of the solo matches in SUNGBIN, Cool, NEAL, and Luning.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in, first of all, you missed one of the coolest solo matches of all time. But of course, NEAL, Luning, and Hero tied, and it was a 3-way tiebreaker. Hero with a really unfortunate start will fall and was never really able to catch up. Although he tried. He really did. But
yeah, threw everything he had right at the wall, but eventually the pressure got to him as well for that spin turn near the end. Couldn't maintain his speed, hits the wall.
And for HoJun, you know, I mean, if the kind of transitive property holds true of like what his preseason 1 performance was, his preseason 2 performance was, maybe it'll be the first regular season of KDL where he makes the finals. You know, maybe if he can continue to maintain the improvement rate,
yeah,
he might be able to find his way there. He underperformed a little bit today. Hero underperforming. JJONG as well, despite being the record holder of several of these tracks, just wasn't able to live up to the top 4 we have.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because despite HoJun being eliminated, a lot of people looked at it and said, okay, the amount of difference we're seeing from preseason 1 to 2, it just shows why he has so many champion titles under his belt from Kart Rider League. And JJONG, sure, this is his first time entering Souls, and we have to remember, while his ace matches are great, that's just a 1v1.
Yeah.
You have to learn a whole new set of skills when you're racing against 7 other racers.
Exactly. And I mean, for HoJun, it's got to be just his training regimen is just so good. And like, he knows how to prepare. He knows how to prepare for tracks. He knows how to improve. He knows how to look at his own gameplay and the gameplay of his teammates. By the way, Sensation having a fantastic season as well, and really actually lead the charge and make those improvements happen. And I think while everyone's improving, being one of the players that improves the fastest is very important. And we'll see what he has to bring for us in regular KDL Season 1.
Yeah, of course, we're all looking forward to that. But we still have a little bit of preseason 2 left. Let's review how things went down today, as we will also be looking forward to the very final matches of both the team matches and solo matches here of KDL Preseason 2. Now, of course, the night started with the team match lower bracket final. Songnam Rocks trying to challenge the Kwangdong Freaks, but Kwangdong Freaks say we want to stay alive to defend our title as preseason champions.
Yeah. went 14 tracks. Technically 15 with one track replayed in speed, but didn't end up going, of course, to the ace match. Was very close, but ultimately at the end, even with the review, the result will stand. KWANGDONGFREECS take a 2-0 in that one, and will have the opportunity now to defend their title and rematch Live Sandbox in the team finals.
Yeah, that should be very exciting. Of course, Live Sandbox does have a revamped roster, as 2 of their racers did have to enter mandatory military service here in Korea, so unable to continue their pro career for the time being. It's on hiatus. They brought in 2 new players, had a little bit of a change in roles as well, and they're still moving on to the grand finals from the upper bracket against Rocks, and now KWANGDONGFREECS rising back up to challenge them for that title.
Will be on Sunday, so a week from today. So roll your clock back 2.5 hours from where you are right now, and then that's the time it's going to start on Sunday, the 23rd. So that's Korean Sunday, of course, so make sure you check your time zone as well. But like about 2.5 hours before what time it is for you now, that is where that's going to be starting. And then, of course, on Saturday, our next matchup will be the solo finals.
And I mean, you can just tell from the jersey, we got 4 all members of KWANGDONGFREECS in the top 8. Spear, World, SUNGBIN, and Cool, they're representing the KWANGDONGFREECS. And then you've got Ding representing Sungdam Rocks, JJONG and NEAL continuing to hold the titles here for Live Sandbox, and Luning as the lone amateur player actually under the Aura banner.
I mean, there is no clear favorite.
No,
I mean,
there
just really isn't. If you have all the Kwangdong players in here, as you mentioned, 2 representatives from Live Sandbox. I think JJONG has really improved so much. I mean, he was always already so good, but he's improved so much. Luning finally getting his first finals. Ding, who had an amazing performance. He's actually the yellow racer going into this one as well. I mean, anyone could take this straight up.
Yeah, and Ding, I mean, we even saw it today, even though they lost as a team to KWANGDONGFREECS, he was still constantly getting those first place finishes, or at least challenging for it. So that should be a very interesting one. Of course, the solo match finals, it will be starting on Saturday, and then the team match finals on Sunday. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for joining us here at the KDL. My name is Will Cho, joined by Wolf, and we'll see you next week for the final matches of Preseason 2.